Madison Chen, no relation to his teacher, but everyone knew her family owned half the tech startups in the city, was holding court 3 tables over, her laugh bright and sharp as broken glass. "We should totally set Marcus up with someone for winter formal," Jenna announced, her voice pitched just loud enough to carry. The suggestion hung in the air, vicious and gleaming. Madison played along, her eyes glinting with performance cruelty. "With who, though? Does Goodwill rent tuxedos?" The cafeteria erupted, 200 students laughing in waves that crashed against Marcus's table and broke around his silence. His fingers kept typing, his jaw tightened, his eyes never left the screen. But inside, in the private space where hurt lives before it hardens, something shifted. The humiliation ripened into system. Group projects, where no one would partner with him until teachers intervened with forced assignments and awkward apologies. College prep sessions where guidance counselors asked if he'd considered community college, despite his 4.0 GPA, their concern performative and poisonous. The senior trip to Six Flags where the bus somehow filled up before he could sign up, though spots mysteriously opened for others the next day. Each incident small enough to dismiss. Together, they built a wall. The betrayal cut deepest in May. Marcus had spent months developing an app, a real one this time, beyond classroom projects. Refuge Link evolved, refined. A platform connecting homeless youth with shelter beds in real time, using geolocation and availability algorithms he'd coded, line by careful line. He'd tested it with local nonprofits, refined the interface based on feedback from actual caseworkers, prepared a presentation for the National Tech Fair. 2 weeks before submission, his laptop was stolen from his gym locker. The next week, Trevor and Madison presented Shelter Now to the fair committee. Same concept, similar interface. They credited themselves as co-creators, their presentation polished with resources Marcus never had access to: professional slides, prototype devices, letters of recommendation from Madison's family connections. When Marcus tried to explain to Principal Dawson, she sighed like he was wasting her time. "Do you have proof of development? Version histories? Witnesses?" He had nothing but his word against their resources, nothing but truth against infrastructure designed to protect those who'd never needed protecting. Marcus stood in the empty parking lot that evening, the sun bleeding red across cracked asphalt. His mother couldn't afford another laptop. The fair was lost, but he pulled out his phone, the one thing they hadn't taken, and backed up every file he had to the cloud, every sketch, every line of code he could remember, every email with Mr. Chen discussing the project's evolution. Then he made a promise to the setting sun, not revenge, something better, something undeniable. Graduation came and went like a fever dream. Marcus attended alone, his mother working a double shift to cover rent. No cap and gown photos, no party invitations. Just his name called, a brief walk across the stage, and back to reality. Trevor and Madison posed together for pictures, their prototype of Shelter Now, earning them admission to Stanford, with full merit scholarships. The local news ran a story. Teen innovators create app to fight homelessness. Marcus saw it on a library computer, read the comments praising their compassion, their ingenuity, their bright futures. He closed the browser and got back to work. Over the next 2 years, Trevor and Madison became minor tech celebrities. Magazine profiles with carefully staged photos. TEDx talks about social entrepreneurship. Shelter Now appeared at conferences with venture capital backing. The app refined with resources, but built on foundations they'd stolen. Every article felt like another theft. Every accolade a reminder that justice was theoretical for people without the right last name. Meanwhile, Marcus worked 3 jobs: restaurant server during dinner rush, his feet aching by closing; night security at an office building, using the quiet hours to code; freelance programming gigs that paid in cryptocurrency and experience. He lived in a studio apartment with no heat, wearing 2 hoodies, while his fingers flew across a new laptop he'd saved 8 months to afford. He taught himself blockchain architecture, AI integration, cybersecurity, advanced algorithms that made his early work look like crayon drawings. His mother kept her faith, visiting when her schedule allowed, bringing containers of food he'd eat cold over 3 days. "Your time is coming, baby," she'd say, her hands finally healing now that she'd cut down to 1 job. He wanted to believe her. Some days, exhaustion made belief feel impossible. When Marcus tried to expose the truth, posting on tech forums about the stolen concept with timestamps and sketches and testimony from Mr. Chen, they invited the black class loser to the 7-year reunion to mock him. He arrived by helicopter. The helicopter's shadow fell across the rooftop garden like a judgment from above. Madison Chen held her champagne flute mid-sip, the golden liquid trembling against crystal as the rhythmic thump of rotor blades cut through 200 expensive conversations. String lights swayed in the downdraft, cocktail napkins scattered like frightened birds across marble tables. The reunion committee, 5 former students who'd spent weeks planning this evening, stood frozen near the champagne fountain, their laughter dying in their throats. "He actually came," Jenna whispered, her voice barely audible over the descending aircraft. Trevor Hutchinson's smirk faltered. 7 years since graduation, and they'd finally gotten Marcus Webb to respond to their invitation. The same Marcus who ate lunch alone in the library, the same Marcus whose backpack was held together with safety pins. They'd invited him as a joke, a living punchline to cap off their perfect evening of reminiscing about glory days and comparing career trajectories. The helicopter touched down on the adjacent helipad with practiced precision. Black. Sleek. No logos? Just power. The door opened. Marcus Webb stepped out into the twilight, wearing a tailored navy suit that caught the amber light like water. No tie. No hurry. No apology in his stride. He walked through the garden gate like he owned the air itself, his footsteps steady against flagstone that had cost more per square foot than his childhood rent. Madison's hand trembled. The champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering against the ground in a sound that felt prophetic. But 7 years earlier, Marcus Webb was just trying to survive. He woke at 5:30 a.m. to the sound of his mother's cough through thin apartment walls. Their home smelled like instant coffee and determination, the scent of dreams held together with willpower and prayer. Marcus would lie still for a moment, listening to her move through the morning routine, water running, the click of the bathroom light, the soft hum she made while tying her hair back. She worked 2 shifts, hospital cleaning during the day, her hands raw from industrial bleach, office buildings at night, coming home after midnight with exhaustion carved into the lines around her eyes. But those eyes stayed kind. That's what Marcus remembered most, how she'd kiss his forehead before he left for school, her lips warm against his skin, whispering the same words every morning. "You're going to make it, baby." He believed her because he had to. Ridgemont High sat in the wealthy district, a brick and glass monument to privilege, trying on diversity like an ill-fitting coat. Marcus qualified on merit, straight A's, perfect SAT scores, the kind of numbers that looked good in the school's inclusion brochures. But merit didn't buy new clothes. It didn't erase the duct tape holding his shoes together, or the way his stomach cramped during lunch when he'd calculated he could only afford the dollar menu. He'd mastered the art of being invisible, head down in hallways buzzing with fluorescent light, quick steps past lockers decorated with vacation photos from places he'd only seen in textbooks. The library became his sanctuary, quiet corners where he could eat his discounted burger in peace and teach himself to code on a decade-old laptop that overheated every 30 minutes. What they didn't see, Marcus staying until closing, his fingers flying across a keyboard held together with electrical tape, teaching himself Python, Java, C++ from free online courses, building apps that crashed and failed and taught him more than any classroom lecture. His computer science teacher, Mr. Chen, noticed. Started staying late, too, showing Marcus advanced algorithms, the elegant architecture of well-written code. "You have a gift," Mr. Chen said one afternoon, the sun bleeding orange through dusty windows. "Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." Marcus nodded, saved his work, and believed that gifts might be enough. They weren't. The wound came sophomore year during the school innovation fair. Marcus had submitted an app concept, Refuge Link, a platform connecting low-income students with free tutoring resources, clean interface, smart matching algorithm, real utility beneath the code. It won third place. At the ceremony, while polite applause echoed through the auditorium, Trevor Hutchinson leaned over, his breath smelling like entitlement and spearmint gum. "Charity case wins charity project," Trevor whispered. "Poetic." His friends snickered. Marcus smiled politely, accepted his ribbon, and walked back to his seat. Inside, something hardened, a resolve forming like scar tissue over a fresh cut. By senior year, the quiet cruelty had become routine. It happened during lunch on a Tuesday. Marcus sat alone as usual, reviewing code on his laptop, the cafeteria noise a white roar around him. The response was swift and crushing. Madison's family lawyer sent a cease and desist letter, legal language wrapping around his throat. Reddit threads called him jealous, bitter, a wannabe, trying to ride their success. One commenter wrote, "This is why scholarship kids shouldn't be given opportunities. They can't handle others succeeding." The posts were removed. His warnings disappeared into the digital void. The system protected those it had always protected. But Marcus wasn't idle in his silence. While they gave speeches, he coded. While they networked at galas, he built. Not one app, but 7, each more sophisticated than the last. He founded a company from his studio apartment, registered under an LLC, operating in stealth mode, with the discipline of someone who'd learned to survive invisible. His flagship project, Reuploading, a revolutionary platform using AI to match underserved communities with resources in real time. Housing, jobs, education, healthcare. Refuge Link evolved to its ultimate form, built from genuine need rather than performative empathy. 3 years after graduation, Reuploading caught the attention of a venture capital firm specializing in social impact technology. The lead investor, Sarah Kim, flew to Marcus's city and met him in his office, a converted warehouse space he now rented, bare walls decorated with white boards covered in code. "This is extraordinary," she said, reviewing his architecture with the focus of someone who understood what she was seeing. "Why haven't we heard of you?" Marcus smiled quietly. "I was waiting until it was undeniable." She offered him $15 million in Series A funding on the spot. By year 5, Reuploading had launched in 12 cities. User base, 2 million. Partnerships with major NGOs. A revenue model that actually helped people while sustaining growth. Marcus's company was valued at $200 million. He'd hired 20 employees, all from backgrounds similar to his, all hungry in ways wealth could never understand. His mother retired. He bought her a house with a garden where tomatoes grew without the taste of exhaustion. But Marcus stayed humble, stayed focused, stayed hungry. When the 7-year reunion invitation appeared in his email, forwarded through several addresses they'd dug up, he saw the message thread they'd accidentally included. The committee's internal discussion, their words preserved in digital amber. "Should we invite Marcus Webb? It would be hilarious to see what he's doing now, probably managing a fast food place." Marcus read it twice. Then he smiled and booked the helicopter. He walked through that garden like water flowing around stones. Inevitable, calm, unstoppable. Former classmates whispered, their voices creating a current of confusion and recognition. Is that Marcus Webb? No way. How did he? The committee stood frozen near the champagne fountain, their faces cycling through shock, disbelief, and the first bitter taste of understanding. Trevor's smirk had vanished. Madison's face had gone pale, her eyes wide with something that looked like fear. Marcus nodded to a few people who'd been kind. The drama teacher who'd let him hide in the auditorium during lunch, a quiet kid from math class who'd once shared his calculator. Then he moved to the center of the space, where a microphone stood waiting for toasts and speeches. The crowd fell silent. I wasn't going to come tonight, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the garden with the calm authority of someone who'd earned his presence. The invitation was clear about why you wanted me here. Entertainment value. The before picture in someone else's success story. Uncomfortable laughter rippled through the crowd like a wave breaking against rocks. But I came because I wanted to say something I couldn't say 7 years ago. He paused, letting the tension build, watching faces shift from curiosity to concern. Thank you. Confusion flickered across 200 faces. Trevor frowned. Thank you for showing me exactly who I didn't want to become, Marcus continued. 7 years ago, some people here stole my work, presented my app as theirs. When I tried to speak up, I was silenced. Lawyers, algorithms, social capital I didn't have. He pulled out his phone, connected it to the venue's projection screen. Original sketches of Refuge Link appeared, dated files, email threads with Mr. Chen, version histories with timestamps that couldn't be argued away. This was mine. And they knew it. Madison stepped forward, her voice shaking. That's not. We developed that independently. Marcus nodded to someone in the crowd. Mr. Chen stood, his face grave with the weight of truth too long unspoken. I have the emails Marcus sent me during development. Time-stamped, a full month before your submission. Another voice. Lisa Park, a former classmate who'd been quietly kind. I remember Marcus showing me the prototype in the library. I'm sorry I never spoke up before. One by one, witnesses emerged from silence. The digital receipts were undeniable. Trevor tried to leave. Marcus's voice stopped him. Not loud, but absolute. I'm not here for revenge. The garden held its breath. I'm here because RealConnect, the company I built from that stolen idea, just went public last month. He advanced to the next slide. News headlines filled the screen. RealConnect IPO raises $500 million for social impact tech. Former scholarship student becomes tech's newest humanitarian CEO. App built in $400 apartment now serves 5 million users. The silence was profound. The platform you tried to bury now operates in 30 countries. It's helped 150,000 people find housing, 40,000 find jobs. It's partnered with the United Nations. He looked at Trevor and Madison, his gaze steady and clean. Your version of my app? It folded after 2 years. The venture capital dried up when they realized it was all performance, no substance. Phones were out now, recording everything. The video would go viral within hours. I'm not pressing charges, Marcus said. I'm not suing. Because the best response to being erased is to become impossible to ignore. He gestured to the helicopter visible through the garden's glass walls, its black form catching city lights. That's not rented. That's mine. But it's not about the helicopter. It's about every kid who's been told they're not good enough. Every person whose work was stolen because they didn't have the right last name or zip code. His eyes swept the crowd, touching each face, offering both judgment and grace. You wanted to mock me tonight. Instead, you're going to remember this. Character isn't built in comfort, and dignity can't be bought, borrowed, or stolen. Madison's face crumbled, tears streaming mascara down her cheeks. Trevor stared at the ground. The crowd's energy had shifted completely, from voyeuristic cruelty to stunned respect, uncomfortable recognition of their own complicity in systems that protected comfort over truth. Marcus turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. I'm establishing a scholarship fund at Ridgemont High, full ride for 5 students annually, for kids who have the talent but not the resources. Maybe we can prevent the next theft before it happens. He walked back toward the helicopter without waiting for applause. It came anyway, hesitant at first, like rain beginning, then thunderous. But Marcus didn't turn around. He climbed into the aircraft, nodded to the pilot, and lifted into the night sky. Below, in the garden of expensive shame, 200 people stood in the truth's long shadow. Morning light painted Marcus's corner office gold. He sat at his desk, watching the city wake below. Delivery trucks making their rounds, early commuters flowing toward their futures, the world turning regardless of individual drama. The viral video had 12 million views. His inbox overflowed with messages, apologies, congratulations, stories from others who'd been stolen from, silenced, told they didn't matter. His assistant knocked gently, her smile knowing. 3 major networks want interviews, and she paused. 500 applications for the scholarship fund in 12 hours. Marcus nodded, feeling the weight and lightness of it. Let's review them together. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Marcus, it's Madison. Her voice was small, raw with emotion that sounded genuine. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I was wrong. We were wrong. I've been living with that guilt for 7 years, and last night, I'm stepping down from Shelter Now's board. I'm going to make this right, however I can. Marcus listened to her breathe, heard the tears she was trying to control. Thank you for calling, he said finally. I hope you do. He hung up gently. Accountability wasn't his to give, but he could witness it. That afternoon, Marcus drove to his mother's house. She was in the garden, planting tomatoes, her hands finally free of bleach burns, moving through soil like she was healing the earth one seed at a time. She looked up as he approached, her eyes knowing everything before he spoke. I saw the video, she said. The whole neighborhood saw it. Mrs. Patterson cried. She stood, wiped her hands on her apron, and pulled him close. I'm so proud of you. Not for the money or the helicopter, for staying you. That was the moment that mattered, not the crowd's applause or the viral vindication. This, her arms around him, her voice saying what he'd always needed to hear. Marcus stood at his office window that evening, watching the city move below. Somewhere out there, a kid was coding in a library with a laptop held together by hope. Somewhere, a parent was working 2 jobs to keep dreams alive. Somewhere, someone's work was being stolen, their voice silenced by systems designed to protect power over truth. But the video was still spreading, the scholarship applications still coming. The system was slow to change, but change was no longer optional. It was in motion. And motion, once started, was hard to stop. Respect isn't given by those who never earned it. Dignity isn't granted by those who tried to take it. And justice? Justice is what you build when the world says you're not worthy of tools. If this story touched your heart, subscribe, share your thoughts, and remember, the only voice they can't silence is the one that refuses to stop speaking through action.